Good afternoon, everyone. Guess we'll get started here. It's about 3 o'clock. Hopefully your brains aren't totally full and there's a little bit of room for information about learning portals. I know there's so much to see here. It's really can be overwhelming. I can get saturated. Anyways, my name's Gray Fowler, and I come to you from Net Dimensions. We are a developer and purveyor of learning management and talent management systems. And specifically, the group I'm from is the interactive group located in Connecticut, about 2 hours north of New York City in the United States. And our group is focused on development of bespoke content and custom e-learning portals, which has become a large part of our business, particularly in the last couple of years. We're seeing a lot more activity around custom learning portals, and that's what I'm here to talk with you about today. So specifically, I'd like to provide some definition, talk about some benefits to learning portals, specific applications we see for custom learning portals. There's a couple of projects I want to share with you, quick case studies that to show you what we've done with that in the past, and then talk about the development process just at a high level so you can see what's involved in creation of a custom learning portal. So starting off with some definition, of course we all know that a portal is a gateway or an entrance, and in the context of computing, where you refer to a website that offers links to related content. Well, for the purposes of this discussion, we'll say that a custom e-learning portal is a learning portal that provides learning resources and tools that target a specific business goal, audience, or subject area. So I view this as a missing link kind of idea where we're basically taking the content and resources and bringing it closer to the learner, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. But it's really about providing context. So how is this different from a custom learning portal? How is that different from a standard LMS? Well, it's a challenging question because many learning management systems are highly configurable these days, and that includes Net Dimensions Talent Suite, or NTS as we call it, which offer customizable homepages for each business unit in the organization. So you can effectively create a custom portal for each business unit in the organization, and you have total flexibility in the layout of the interface, as you can see here. But occasionally there are scenarios where, rather than sort of taking a piece of software that exists with a specific feature set and trying to solve a business problem with those specific features, a custom portal affords you the opportunity to start with the business problem, design the ideal solution, and then backfill the technology later to meet that requirement. So, for example, Steve Jobs would use that technique to market empathy, or use end user, the empathy for what they need, what their requirements are, is really what drove the design for Apple products, and that's really what a custom learning portal affords us. So again, we see here sort of this idea of a framework here in Net Dimensions Talent Suite that offers these custom portals, but if we want to, we can leverage an API library to access the functionality and content to create an externalized portal that is a totally custom learning experience. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But that's my little pitch for the Talent Suite. Ultimately, a custom learning portal provides a custom solution with no compromise. So we're looking to offer that synergy through the consolidation of all of these key learning tools and features to meet a specific business goal. So whenever we're trying to solve any training or learning problem, we're always starting with our audience. We need to understand our audience. So what is the profile of a learner in 2016? We know that they don't have enough time on their hands. They're totally saturated with information. if they're going to go after some information, or they're going to go to a portal or any website for that matter, they need to know what's in it for me, because it has to be relevant and focused for them, that content. And of course, they want to be in control of that content. And again, the custom learning portal affords us this opportunity because it's going to be a totally custom solution. So what are some of the features we commonly see in these portals? These won't be a surprise to you, but the portal, these features will really serve as the bedrock for the portal. But it's really, it can be anything. But we'll start with formal courses, e-learning, and ILT courses. But that's integrated with the ability to offer social components, informal learning, forums, wikis, what have you, and then also offer performance support, job aids, reference resources, and such. All of that can be brought together with a learning path that provides a key, a clear path for what the learner is expected to do. And then they can be motivated to complete that learning path through leaderboards and badging and rewards. Surveys and polls to collect information about how they're doing and what they're thinking about the experience, the learning experience. Of course, this is all buttoned up in a nice corporate branding experience. And then finally, the reporting end of it. So again, no surprises here. These are things that you've seen and are as part of many solutions. But what's really important here is the idea of integration and focusing these components in the context of the topic that we're shooting for here. Another key component is the opportunity to integrate business workflow with training. So training doesn't have to be an isolated event separate from business workflow doesn't have to be separate from the training workflow. These can be integrated. For example, imagine a sales portal that presents all of the salesperson's key products, their performance so far in sales, but then their training records and training links right next to those products. So maybe there's a one-to-one correlation between their effectiveness in selling a product and the training for that product. So that's just one high-level example, but you can imagine many others. So I encourage you to think about that idea, that the portal, since it's a custom solution, you can be integrating the training solution with other elements of your business. So let's get into how a custom learning portal might work. So in my little wireframe diagram here, I'm showing how we're going to consolidate different resources into one focused portal. So, and this is going to be for a specific audience, so we're going to have very targeted messaging that adds relevance and context to these components. So with any portal, I would think we would certainly have training, so we're going to have an LMS system on the back end. In the case of Net Dimensions, we have an e-learning or a learning component that offers up these the e-learning and ILT tracking functionality. And then perhaps you'd have a social media component, as mentioned earlier, such as Jive. And then maybe you have assets out in your corporate intranet and you want to integrate those. And perhaps you want to be able to provide very custom messaging that you want to update regularly. So perhaps you'd use a CMS system such as WordPress or what have you. So all of these can be consolidated into one portal, and we'll use different technologies to accomplish that. So for example, in the case of our LMS, Net Dimensions, for example, has a robust library of APIs, or application program interface, which is basically just a way for a portal to communicate with the learning management system, so they can share the profile information, the course information, the tracking information, and be able to affords you the opportunity to customize the interface of that experience. With the social media example here, you might use a widget. So what's a widget? It's basically an encapsulated web component that's pre-built, that's portable, that allows you to leverage that technology that's in that third-party website or service and then embed it into another website. So that's an important technology that's very popular, and many services offer that. Of course, HTML links, that's a no-brainer. You've been doing that for years. And page embedding also, such as iframes and such, you have the ability to leverage that technology also to embed third-party functionality. But what really ties this all together is the idea of single sign-on. So the idea of when the learner arrives at the portal, they will log in one time, but those login credentials are shared with these different services. So behind the scenes, that authentication is happening on each system, and that is what creates that coherent, sort of smooth experience, that holistic experience for the learner. So single sign-on is really a key component. So what are some of the common applications we see for learning portals? Well, it's really anything that has to do with your business. These are sort of the common, obvious headers: sales, service, manufacturing, compliance. But it's really anything that will drive a business goal in your organization. So for the sake of illustration here, I've taken that new hire idea, and I thought it might be interesting to take a business challenge or a set of business challenges, in this case a new hire orientation kind of idea, which we're all familiar with, and deal with these challenges using a portal for an example. And I just created sort of a wireframe to illustrate the idea. So the key challenges that we find in new hires orientation is making the employee feel welcome, right, and connected with their organization. The fact that they have all of these disparate sort of resources coming from everywhere in the organization. You have IT sending you instructions on how to sign up for the Wi-Fi, and you have HR sending you forms for signing up for your 401k plan, and you get the idea there. So that's one challenge. And then the need to communicate the responsibilities of the new employee for getting on board. I think that's an important aspect and challenge. And then finally, being able to connect the employee with their peers and their mentors to provide a facility to answer questions. So here's how we might deal with that. I've got my little wireframe portal here by way of an example. And we'll look at each of these. So the first challenge I mentioned was making them the employee feel welcome. Well, we might handle this maybe with, for example, a little welcome video shot on green screen, for example, where the new employee is welcome to the organization. Here's a quick overview of what your responsibilities are here, and what resources are available to you on the portal. We also have a social media feature on our wireframe here that would allow them to connect with some of their peers and ask some questions, or also their mentor. Maybe the HR system assigns the new employee a mentor, and that information can be presented right here. The next challenge was just communicating that responsibility to the employee about what they need to do for the onboarding process. Well, that could be something as simple as a step-by-step learning path, and also the mentor functionality, being able to allow them to ask questions about that responsibility. The disorganized assets, I mean, that's pretty simple, just the idea of organizing resources and on the portal to make it sort of a no-brainer, what resources that they need to complete or get access to. And then finally, providing that facility for answering questions, employee questions. So again, your social media component or your mentor access would provide that. So you can see how it's really, none of these elements by themselves are rocket science, and all of these features are presented here throughout the entire conference. But really what a portal affords us is the idea that we can combine all of these into one site, one place to go that is focused on the goals of that learner audience or of the business. So if I may, I'll share a couple case studies with you, some projects that we recently completed at Net Dimensions Interactive. The first is Digicel Retail Academy. So Digicel is a communications company located in the Caribbean, Jamaica, serving the Caribbean area. And unfortunately, I didn't get to go there, but I still hope to get out there. And but they had a requirement to train over 1,000 employees on the new product line, new sales process within the organization. And they needed to motivate these learners to complete this training very quickly. And there's also a high turnover at these retail stores. So this was very important to provide a very simple and friendly portal. It's been very successful. They launched back in November, well over 1,600 courses registered to date, and very positive feedback. One big requirement they had was self-registration. Of course, it would be a nightmare for an admin to have to register all of these learners, so self-registration was a key component. The portal had to support multiple languages also, and then they needed to prohibit, just folks, competitors, for example, from accessing the portal. So we came up with a key code system where the admin just sends out a key code that's unique each month to the store managers, and they distribute the key code to the learners as they are brought on board, and that provides them with access to register. And then they're presented with, conventional registration form. Only what was unique about this form was the ability to select the specific stores that they were working in. And the reason why that was valuable was so that we could register them in that department, so that the managers would have the appropriate reporting structure, right? So when the manager logs in, they see just the learners that were assigned to that store. So here's a look at the portal. It doesn't look like your typical LMS system. It's got a very friendly, Facebook-y, social media-like kind of interface, very personalized, and that was a big requirement for this millennial type of audience. We actually added, shortly after I took the screenshot, a timer where there's actually a countdown idea, because the learners are actually encouraged to complete their courses by a goal date. And the goal date is set from the date that they register the course to 2 weeks later, which is the window of time that they had to complete the courses. And the faster they completed the courses, the more points they got. And you can see there's a leaderboard here where they have the opportunity to earn points. And as they complete the courses, their points are registered on their profile, and then the leaderboard presents sort of where their standing is. And they can compare themselves against their peers in their store, or within their retail group, or within the actual market or country. So, and you can see there's also other features here, news articles, there's surveys and polls, and again, it's about the consolidation of all of these resources into this one environment that makes it so effective. So the second case I wanted to share with you is one we did for a really exciting company called Threeshape. They're a dental instrument company located in Denmark, and they have this fascinating technology where they can scan your dental work, and it creates a 3D model of your dental work, including the different tissues and fillings and structure in your mouth, and creates an image, the 3D image on the monitor. And because of the complexity in using this tool, they found that it was important that there was a multimodal kind of training that they wanted to provide. So that included sort of upfront videos, like a pre-work, and then on-site clinics, and then follow-up e-learning courses. So they thought the best way to present that was with learning paths, and I'll show you that in a minute. Similar to Digicel, they had sort of self-registration, as you can see, is just totally custom relative to the other registration to meet their requirements. And one of the requirements was just being able to not overwhelm the user with too much information on this form. So they created a little wizard interface where they do a 3-step type of registration form. And then also what was unique is that this actually authenticated against their own proprietary CRM system. So that consolidated the credentials so that you only needed one set of login information for both the training and their software. So that was important to them. And the reason I bring that up is, again, it's sort of integrating the business workflow with the training. It's about integration, and that's what the portal offers you here. So back to the portal, here's their custom learning portal. And sort of one of the most obvious features of the site is this learning path, which I don't know if you noticed the dental instrument that the gentleman was holding here in this photo, but it's got this sort of seal type shape here. It's kind of unique, and they use that as their learning path. And there's a 4-step learning path. The first step was that pre-work. The second, and by the way, as they proceed through each step here, you can see there's the sort of the video component. Oh, and there's this this opportunity to order a start package, right? So they arrive at this step 1, and the first thing they're going to do is click on Order My Start Package. That sends a report to a fulfillment group that sends out the package to the dental clinic. Again, sort of integrating business workflow with the training. So you couldn't do that in a normal LMS sort of situation. It's really about the integration that makes the magic happen here. So, and then you see the reference materials over here as well. So after they complete their videos in step 1, they go to their clinic, and upon completing their clinic, they come back and they fill out this registration information here as part of step 2. You can see they've moved on to step 2. They click the registration button, and then that presents them with your conventional sort of certificate with their name and their the date of their completion and who signed off on their clinic completion. And then there's a survey to sort of complete the process. So you can see, again, it's all about the integration. Just a couple other items here. Administrator functions, of course, that's also a key element within custom learning portals. If you need to have a back-end functionality for updating news articles or vetting the feedback that comes back from your social media component, custom administration functionality can be added as well. And then portals can be mobile. I don't think we think of portals as a mobile type of resource, but there's no reason why a portal can't be mobile, and in fact it's very effective, and we have the ability to leverage device detection to ensure that the portal only serves up the relevant resources. So for example, all of the performance support resources or the job aids and reference resources would be good examples. So the last thing I wanted to cover with you here was the portal development process, and this just is really high level, giving you an idea of what's involved in development of a portal. What sort of makes this unique is that the first thing that everybody asks me when we start talking about portals is like, well, how much does it cost, right? Everybody wants to know that because you need a budget. The problem is it's sort of like asking somebody how much does a house cost? Well, a custom house, right? Well, it depends on what you want in it. And so much like building a house, you're going to go to an architect and you're going to get a plan done first. And that's where we're going to sift through all of your requirements and do that analysis. We're going to understand the audience, all the key features that you're looking for, any systems you need to integrate with, and obviously branding and look and feel, the navigation design. You get into the back-end stuff like the hosting requirements and the technology stuff. Do you need specific security requirements. And obviously a delivery date, we're always driving towards some sort of delivery date. So the output of all of this is a specification document. So it's much like your architectural plan, right? So now that you have this plan, you can go to your builder and then you talk about price. Now you can get into schedule and understand maybe do you need to develop this in phases. And we can get into very specifics around content, the specifics around the design, and get into establishing your hosting, and basically the development process, which is followed by your typical 3-cycle QA, which we're familiar with when developing bespoke content. And then finally go live and perhaps do a pilot test. And then finally, you'll want to keep in mind the idea that once you launch a portal, the project is not complete. You want to keep in mind that there will always be maintenance, because you're going to have feedback from your audience. You're going to want to do maintenance around because you're going to have new ideas, ways to improve the system. And then you're also going to keep an eye on things like new devices, new mobile devices, new browsers that are coming out, all of the normal things that are involved in launching and maintaining technology within an organization. So, and then you'll also be updating content as well. Very often our clients like to refresh the interface, refresh news articles, things like that, to keep the site feeling lively and up to date. So this sort of wraps up my presentation here, because this is really just a bullet list of all of the attributes that a custom learning portal affords us. And again, I think the message I want to leave you with is just the idea that it's the consolidation of these different features and focusing them on a specific business target audience or learning objective that is really what a custom learning portal is all about. And if you have any questions, I am at the booth over by the entrance. Net Dimensions is the name of the company again. And my name is Gray Fowler, and I'd love to answer any questions for you. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.